Let me ask you, who are you waiting on that's going to tell you that it's your time to change your life? You know, I spent a long time waiting for this magical person that was going to show up, that was going to tell me that it was my time to write my fiction books. That was my time to have a podcast. That was my time to build an online business. And I bought books, watched videos, and found myself not getting any further. And what I realized at the end of all that was that I needed to give myself permission. That it was up to me. That if I wanted my life to change, well then, it was up to me to change my life. You know, I was the gatekeeper on my life. And that's what I want to remind you also, is that if you want your life to change, you can't be waiting on other people to turn your life around. None of us are going to pick you up from where you are and carry you all the way to the finish line. You're going to have to put the legwork in. Yes, we can cheer you on. Yes, we can tell you to watch out of all these dangers and don't make the mistakes we made. But really, you have to put the legwork in. And it was only when I gave myself permission, when I said, Barry, let's go and write this fiction book. Let's start recording these podcast episodes. Let's do the videos, that my life started to change. That I actually started to take action when I gave myself permission to take action. You know, a lot of us spend a long time in our heads listening to that little voice that tells us we can't do those things. And we give way more importance to what's going on in here than what we're told about ourselves. You know, I could record 100 videos. I could tell you how amazing you are, how talented you are, all the different things that you can do. You're not going to believe me. And the reason you're not going to believe me is because you're going to give more importance to this voice in your head than you are to mine. So what I'd say to you is to maybe stop paying so much attention to that voice. Stop paying attention to what your life was like in the past. You know, we try and build a better future life. But what we do is we look at the blueprint of our past life and then try and build a future life with that past blueprint. But if we just copy what we've done in the past, how is our future going to be any different? If we want things to be different in the future, well then that means we need to make changes right now. We need to take new actions. And we need to develop courage. So what I'd say to you is that, you know, again, whether you believe me or not, I'm here to tell you that you have far more talent and ability than you realize. And the reason I know that is because after coming through my journey of writing fiction books, of recording hundreds of podcast episodes, of doing videos like this, I realized that all those abilities were already in me. You know, it's not that these things just magically developed. They were already in me. I was already a fiction writer, but I just, because I was so scared of writing fiction, or I thought I couldn't write fiction, I didn't write it. Again, the podcast, I recorded hundreds of episodes, and it's not that I woke up and, you know, somebody waved a magic wand over me. That ability was already in me. I just had to allow myself to record those episodes. I had to allow myself to record videos, scared and all as I was, but that ability was in me. And I'd say that to you as well too, that, you know, sometimes we get trapped in this idea of seeing ourselves almost like a statue, like a piece of granite that can't change. That the person we are right now is the person we're going to be in 5 years' time or 10 years' time. But really, when you think about it, when you look back through our lives, the person we are today isn't the person we were 10 years ago, isn't the person we were 20 years ago. So why shouldn't the future be any different? Why do we think that we can't be different in 5 years or 10 years' time? Why do we think we can't be a fiction writer, or that we can't record videos, or we can't make money online or build an online business or whatever it is? Why do we believe that we can't change? The reason we believe that is, again, we're giving more importance to this story that we tell ourselves. And sometimes the reason we don't take action is because we're waiting for a better starting point. You know, we look at other people on social media and say, well, if I had their ability, well, then yes, I'd be like them. I'd be writing the books, I'd be making the videos. And we're looking at our starting point and saying, well, it's not the right one. We'll wait until maybe our starting line has changed, until we're at a different position. And then we'll write that book. Then we'll record that video. But you're going to find that moment, we're just going to kick that can down the road and we're never going to take action. You're going to find that none of us are in a perfect position. None of us have enough time to do the things we'd like to do. None of us feel we have enough ability, or that we know enough, or that we're good enough to do the thing we want to do. There's never going to be a magical moment when we feel we have enough knowledge, feel we're good enough looking, feel we're clever enough, feel that we can do it. And again, that's because we're listening to that story. So what I'd say to you is to test your limits, test your abilities. The only reason I know I can write fiction is because I did it. I leaned into that and I said, let's give it a go. Let's see if I can write fiction. And I found I could. I got a lot of great reviews, which proved to me that I could write fiction. Again, the podcast. I tested that limit. I told myself a story that I couldn't record podcast episodes. I couldn't have a podcast until I told myself I could. And then I started recording them. And then I got some nice comments. I got some content that was shared with other people. And the videos as well too. I told myself for a long time I couldn't record videos and I had nothing important to say and that this was just a waste of time. And I gave myself permission and I recorded my first video. And then I worked from there. And I found that as I tested my limits, I realized that, something, there was more to me. I wasn't just a bog standard person. I wasn't a bog standard Barry. I was Barry who could write fiction. I was Barry who could record podcast episodes. I was Barry who could build an online business. So what I'd say to you is that if you're waiting around for some person to show up, give you permission and tell you that, from today onwards, you can be the person you want to be, stop waiting around for that person because that person's not going to show up. And even if that person does show up, you're not going to believe them. And the reason you're not going to believe them is because of this voice, this one in your head that you're giving all the importance to. This voice here that tells you that you're not good enough, that it won't work out for you, that other people can do that thing, but that you can't do that. The best bet is none of us said that to you. I never told you you couldn't record videos, launch a business. I never told you. You told you. So maybe you need to realize that, if your life is going to change, you need to stop listening to the gatekeeper. You need to realize that it's you actually strangling your life, not us. And if you're waiting around for one of us to carry you to the finish line, it's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because we're all busy with our own lives that we can't carry you there. Yes, as I said, we can cheer you on and we can show you all the things to watch out for, but you've got to do the legwork. So I hope this podcast I hope this video helped you out today. And if you have any comments at all, please feel free to leave them below. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.